Oh, that's left my clicker on the bus. Oh well. Not much clicking to do.
The other guy who had a Sleeping Beauty clapper.
Did he?
Yeah.
I didn't see. Who was that?
One hand clappy with a Sleeping Beauty on it.
I didn't see
He was
it.
an Egyptian tour guide.
Oh, that sounds works.
What's that sound of one hand clapping?
Exactly.
One hand clapping.
There's a Bill Hicks joke.
Okay, so you see there, you'll see why it didn't make it when we get down, but you realize actually where that is. In order to get it down, okay, we're on the floodplain here, or when this isn't here, it's the floodplain. So flood season, this is all going to be flooded, and so in order to get that out, they're going to have to pull away all the rest of the rock in front of it. Which in and of itself is a pretty substantial job, but it's not as much of a job. I mean, that's just brute work, and you can do it. But getting that out of there, freed from the under rock, that's the big problem. We'll look at how they're doing that. That's still open to question. And then lift it up and get it down to barges or palm rafts. I've been told that palm rafts are a pretty good way of doing it because the palm log is extremely buoyant and can float 5 times its own weight. So you have a 1-ton log, you can float 5 tons on it. I've not actually researched that further, but that's what I've been told. So, okay, so let us head up there. It's the way. I mean,
How many?
oh, I mean, I don't know. It seems like they're really...
Oops. Yeah, I did.
Scooped up. How much did they scoop out that? I'm glad you took us to this.
What?
I'm glad you took us to this.
Oh, yeah.
But I mean, it's channeled out. I don't fucking know.
Click, click. Click, click, click.
Welcome, دكتور.
ايوه
صباح الخير.
صباح الخير.
مع السلامة.
السلامة.
كويس؟
كويس أوي.
الحمد لله.
وأنت؟
وأنا
كمان؟ الحمد لله. Okay. Are we here? No.
Yeah.
Everybody here?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so this is the obelisk that didn't make it out of the bedrock. A fair amount of explaining to do here. It developed a fault, but the fault is not what's obvious. You see the rough line chiseled at the top, and then here, there, at some point, somebody is thinking about making, you see the point ends in a point, somebody's thinking about making a smaller, using what's already quarried to get a smaller obelisk out. That doesn't work either. But the fault line is this faint line down the side here, see it? And usual story is that these round holes, we'll see a few of those all over the place, are bore holes cut by the quarry masters to look for fault lines in the granite that will preclude using this stone for whatever purpose it is
This one here,
to
John?
be used. Yeah, those big round holes. That in itself, I mean, if somebody said, I need a borehole in granite, 14 feet deep and polished around the sides, more or less, and that 3 feet wide. Here's a stone. Make me such a borehole. You would think twice about or several times about how the hell you're going to do such a thing. But and then when we get over to the side there, where the Egyptian guy's going, there are some of the pounding stones that were used in order to free this from the granite. You see all those all the concavities there? The pounding stone, here's a piece, the very, very hard rock. Is Lane here? Where's Lane? Where's Lane?
Right there.
Oh, there's Lane. Lane,
Yes.
chime in if need be. The pounding stones are made of a very, very hard stone called dolerite, which comes from somewhere to the south. That's harder than the granite, and they shape this into rough blocks. When we get to where the guy is there, he has some of the pounding stones there, and I'll show you how we think they were used, because the pounding stones themselves, they're different sizes and shapes because they've been pounded a lot, and it's hard to imagine. I mean, the obvious way, you think some guy sitting there going bang, bang, bang. These things weigh 15, 20 pounds now, no matter what kind of shape you're in. How long can you go like this, pounding this away? But we were with, on a couple of occasions he came with us, a very smart guy named Philip Laporta, who's a geoarchaeologist, and he had done a lot of work, extensive work, in still working but very, very ancient quarries in India. And he knew, they also used these pounding stones, and he knew how to use them, how they use them now. When we get there, I'm going to save this sort of, no, I'm not going to give away the game right here. Anyway, the reason, and so it's always thought that they put the boreholes in that didn't detect this fault line here that developed as they were pounding away. Philip says no, the boreholes weren't used for that. Because again, in India they're using similar primitive quarrying techniques, and according to him, the boreholes would not be of any service in finding fault lines in the granite, because they're not there. They serve some other purpose. And Philip said that in the primitive quarries in India, they use those, and they put bundles of they fill them up with logs, as many as it takes, a bundle of logs. They make a primitive crane that then has a short arm on the top. You have enough of these things. Hard to imagine that you can lift this kind of a weight with X number of cranes, but according to Philip, that's what they do. And they have counterweights on the cranes, and they can get this thing up in the air, 1,200 tons. Almost unbelievable how you would do that. Well, actually, I'll reveal, the way they use the pounding blocks, we'll experiment when we get over there, is that you bounce them. You take them, you'll see, they bounce. You hit them like this, and you can see that half an hour, if you still have toes left at the end of half an hour, you would get the hang of it, and you'd be able to go boop, 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 with very little effort, because you're catching like dribbling a basketball. And you can see that, I mean, I'll get a couple of bounces out of it that at least show that it's potentially possible to do it. But if you have trained guys, they can do it. And according to Philip, the way that crack developed was that somebody wasn't watching the pounders carefully enough, and they got synchronized. And in the army, in bridges like Joshua and the Battle of Jericho, and they blow the trumpets 7 times, or they walk around it 7 times and blow the trumpets. Well, in principle, whether or not that worked in Jericho, you never know. But in principle, yeah. I mean, in the army, you learn to walk across a bridge in route step. It means that you don't go left, right. You don't march in step as you normally would in the army. So these guys are going pounding, and all of a sudden they're synchronized, and they're all doing it at the same time, and it cracks the obelisk, and thereafter, of course, it's unusable unless you make little other things of it. Nobody did. So that's the basics. Actually, that's the basics of the method. The original. Let's see if we see any here. To crack the obelisk from the bedrock to begin with, you'll see there are a number of places where they have this. They have a wedge, and it's not that steep a wedge. It's sort of like this. You wonder how they're going to get a wooden wedge in there, but I guess it's calibrated so that you do. And you put a wooden wedge in, a whole line of these, wherever it is that you want to crack the granite, and you soak the wood, and evidently, in not too long a time, the wood expands and the granite can't stand the pressure and it cracks. Apparently they've used that, maybe even still do use it in quarrying, or they've used it until quite recently when they have all kinds of dynamite and things like that to do that. Then, however,
Same method in
still,
For marble, yeah.
yeah, well, yeah, so they're still doing that. Now, then, here's where the pounding stones come in, because you've got to free the obelisk, this massive thing, from the bedrock. So you have to create a trough alongside it, and that's where the guys going pound, 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 pound. And they're eventually, I don't know how long it's going to take them, but a lot, to get down to where they want to get it. Then comes an even bigger problem, undercutting the thing to get it free of the bedrock. We'll see a place where they are trying to do that, almost at the bottom. When we go out, you have to come back this way. It rains stupidly. You come back this way and over and around, up where, see where the little watchtower is there? Go past there and then down the steps to get to the Crocodile Street, where they have all the bazaar keepers and things. But just as we're getting close to the bottom, you'll see a place where they're quarrying out a massive block, probably almost certainly intended to be a colossal statue of whatever king, and they're part of the way there, getting underneath it on one side, and then they're going to use the pounding ball to go down this way, and eventually it's going to be, it's going to be free of the bedrock, but with a bottom like this, and then they're going to have to get the pointy part off it. Well, that's not the biggest problem in the world. You're going to do that with the wedges, but getting it out of the bedrock, the shock has been having second thoughts about bouncing the pounding stone, because it doesn't seem possible, and you'll see when we get there, to throw the stone in such a way that you're going to be able to break it free. So, jury's still out, maybe, we don't know, but we do see the process in action, that they're cutting it, they are cutting this 45-degree angle under the obelisk, so we know that that's what they want to do, but how they're doing it, that's another matter. Okay, so any questions, anybody?
How do they shape the pounding balls? Because
good question. The pounding balls come out of the quarry as blocks, basically, and according to Philip, you just start bouncing it, and if you know how to bounce, you're chopping off gradually, you're chipping away the rough edges, and you'll see at the end, you're getting something pretty round, but time consuming, and obviously you have to know what you're doing, but you can see this is not rocket science, rocket science will not get us an obelisk either, but you can see that this is within, it's plausible, skilled people could do it.
And the other thing, with the flint knapping,
Yeah.
there's a couple experts in the world who really can approximate even Neolithic kind of knives. But the techniques are amazingly sophisticated, and you have to have a lot of skill.
Right.
These guys, I forget the one guy's name, he spent his whole life learning how to do this. And so we just assume that it's like bouncing, but there might be technique that we're not imagining at all.
Could be. Could be.
Similar to flint knapping.
Could be.
It's not the same, but
no, it's a different.
We're just imagining that it's a boom.
It's a related. But according to Philip, that they are using this bouncing the ball, the pounding ball still in India. They are doing this. The question, however, remains that undercutting. And Philip, by the way, is one of those experts. I don't know if he's an expert in flint knapping, but he is an expert in that very early Acheulean, I think, is the period, tool making and things like that. And he, in fact, said, like for example, that fantastic blade in the pre-dynastic room of the Cairo Museum. He said that's an almost incredible skill goes into making a blade that fine and that sharp and keeping it in one piece. So so this is, and they keep pushing it back. Those Acheulean flint things go back a couple of 100,000 years. So we've been around a long time before we started doing stupid things, doing smart things. Okay, let's wander up there. Yes?
Has
What?
anybody talked about the strike and dip of the natural fractures in the rock from tectonic stresses?
Mhm.
You can see they all kind of run. You can see them. There's a bedding plane. There's a nice fault wall over there.
Yeah. No one has.
Really, strike
Well,
and dip. So,
yeah.
so strike would be that way, and the dip would be
Right.
the angle. And so, if you compare it with the in-place stuff back there,
Yeah.
it runs on strike with the sides of the obelisk. And
Really?
right here, there's one that, I mean, so I think they're definitely working with the natural tendency of the strikes in the.
Well, that's interesting
And-
because, yeah, I mean, if you stop and think about it, this is not going to be a nice flat surface here. It's going to start off with something else. So they must know all of that.
Because you can see a wall there, but see, they'll come. But
Yep, you see it going in this
And,
way.
and there's a nice wall up there that's
Yeah.
sort of parallel.
Uh-huh.
So you could measure, they have an instrument called a Brunton, which measures the strike and the angle of dip. And then you collect all that data, and there's a way to plot it, and it gives you the general trend of the fault lines, so you can see the larger tectonic stresses that cause them.
You just have your little project worked
Yes.
out for the revised guidebook.
Okay?
That's
Yeah, I'd love to come up here and measure all that.
Yeah. You got it.
Excellent, excellent.
That's your job. You got it. You got it. Anyway, let's go around. And yeah, I didn't realize that, of course, that they're doing this on an angle like this. And why should they? Why don't they just do it straight? Because they're following the strike and the dip. Chalk, as far as I know, has never studied it from that angle. So let's continue and go.
Oh, here's some of those pounding balls up here
Where?
we can touch.
Where?
Right here, I saw 3 of them.
Oh, great.
Dolostone. Feel how heavy.
Vessel.
Wow.
You can drop it right on this.
Hold on.
Yeah,
Right.
that is.
Hold on a second. Here.
What are these?
The pounding ball.
They're what are they called? Dolostone? I don't
Dolorite.
Really. Dolorite.
Oh, yeah.
Wait,
They're
let's see.
heavy.
They are very heavy. No, I mean, no matter how strong you are, how long can you go
You can't.
and keep fingers on your hand?
Just like
I think they drop from about 6 feet up and just let them fall.
Theory has some validity.
Well, that would be very perilous because without steel-toed boots, because they don't fall where you want them to fall.
Yeah.
Let's see.
Oh, that was a perfect one. That just about came back up and popped you in the nose.
That was a perfect one. Rarely have I done a perfect one.
That's it.
Straight?
Watch your toes.
No. I've had my one moment of perfection today.
Okay,
But you get the idea.
Yeah.
that was a perfect one.
Did anyone capture that perfect one?
Yeah.
Shit.
You did,
Whoa.
But anyway, you see, you throw it down and you see it splinters the rock.
You got a good chip on that.
Yeah. So you can see, once you learn how to do that, and a whole bunch of guys doing it, you're making inroads in the granite pretty quickly. Who spotted these? You get the prize.
Thank you. See, I'm not a sedimentary geologist. I'm a igneous.
So at the end, Lane, this technique is logical or not? I mean, doing this, you think
What?
it's logic?
I don't think it's logical. I've seen that, and I don't think it's logical. But someone said they do it in India.
Yeah.
But you see this plane here?
Mhm.
That's a strike, on strike. And
Right.
so like if you follow like that one doesn't they don't always go to intersect, but they were along one. I'm pretty sure that there's some.
And these,
They were
by the way,
following those.
those are rough, because they've been sort of damaged. But those are the rough wedges where they
So if you get someone, Lane, let's say 100 people, and you make them work some 8-hour shift,
I guess you could.
you could, but I mean, with not very perfection.
No, look at that perfection. And what surprises me is the perfection that with which they didn't just like take a block out and then make it nice later. It's pretty darn nice in place.
So there must have some other technique
Yes,
that we don't know.
I think so.
Got it.
I think so. That's
That's not bad.
phenomenal.
Right, huh?
He wants you to stop.
Okay, yeah.
Go do it.
Good one.
Yeah. Oh no.
Yeah, well, he's a pitcher. He should be able to do
Play.
this stuff.
You got the job.
Your moment.
All right.
So how is the face so smooth?
That's not the biggest problem in the world, because that they can do with abrasion. In other words, some hard stone with carborundum or something like that underneath it. You get it roughly to where you want to get it through those with those wedges, and get it a rough surface on it, and then abrasion will smooth it off.
Because they're smoothing it in situ, I guess.
Well, they're smoothing it well enough so that they can take it down. But when, as you saw with the big obelisks, they're like glass. They're better than glass, actually. So who knows what kind of amount of work it takes to do that? But it's thought that the way they do it is through polishing and polishing and polishing and polishing. And they have nothing else to do. No Jeopardy, no American Idol. No McDonald's, nothing to distract them from the job at hand, and they get it done.
They polished it with that stone?
No, that would just be for pounding. No, probably it would be a very hard, like a corundum. Where's Lane? That very hard sand that used
Hey, Lane.
for grinding.
We're asking how you would polish that granite.
What's the very hard stone? Corundum or
Corundum.
It's corundum,
Correct.
which is like it's almost diamond hard, and it comes. Or you can make a sand out of it.
Yeah, 9 on the Mohs scale. Yeah,
Really?
yeah, it's diamond's 10.
Yeah. And granite is what, 8, something like that, or 7?
7, 8,
Yeah.
quartz is a 7.
So the corundum, I don't know where that comes from.
Rubies are corundum.
Ah,
Corundum?
corundum, yeah. So
Corundum.
you have the sand of it, maybe a paste, I don't know. And you rub and you rub and you rub, and you keep on rubbing, and you're I don't know. Another job for you to find out.
So many things were lost. So many like pastes and things in containers that they cleaned out, and we don't know what was in them.
Well, where would you find ruby deposits?
That's what I mean. I don't know.
Globally.
A very, hardcore scientific sort, whose name I forget, began with C, somewhere back in the 80s, wrote a big book on lost technologies. For example, the glass of the cathedrals, that alchemical glass. And there are a lot of things that they could do, as a matter of course, that have been lost. And I bet you Google it up, I bet you'd find it.
Lost
I almost
technologies?
think of his name with a C. He's a well-known guy. Used to be maybe still alive, writing for the New Sciences. Yeah, I'll bet if you put in lost technologies, you'll find a lot of stuff. Okay, so shall we? Now we don't have to go over to where the other pounding stones are, which means that we can. How do we get out of here? What is that? I'll turn to.
Put it behind
It's
some
not
sort
my,
of
I
back.
have no idea.
Okay,
It would work, yeah.
where do we go?
Yeah, when you polish a stone, you start with something
Oh, yeah,
coarse,
up those
and
stairs.
then a finer grit and a finer grit. It's like sandpaper.
Yeah, they started just cutting out smaller.
Because temperature will change.
Yeah.
For cutting and for, because, you know, materials will expand or whatever.
Well, maybe.
Probably.
Maybe.
I mean, because I believe when it's very, very cold, in fact, when it's icy,
Yeah, but it doesn't
it will
get icy.
cut.
Yeah, but it doesn't get icy here.
No,
Never.
never.
Not icy, no.
No, 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 no.
What? You know, wedge shapes. I mean, how do you cut? You know, they don't have diamonds or. You know, the best they have, or supposedly, is tempered copper. I mean, you're going to need 10 copper chisels to get a thing like that. I mean, even that's mind-boggling. Oh, wait a sec. Oh, no, Garrett's where it is. Hold on, everyone. Good. Garrett, where Garrett is there. Go down there. You'll see them trying to undercut the.
This is where I was underneath. Yeah, day to day. That's why I was up in front of you guys. Oh, you just took that way.
No, I came around from behind. You can't take us this way because you see the side of that man's got my shoulder.
You can see it better if we go around the other side. Follow our friend there. You guys want to get
Oh, this is really interesting. This is really interesting. Oh, yeah, it's good.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
Play.
Yo.
They're undercutting.
Good.
Okay.
Come back here.
How much? 15?
And these little ridges, the little cuts are where they pop them out.
That's where they pop this big rock out.
Things are where they pop them out.
Smooth out.
The little ones there that I was just walking over. That's how they break it into its constituent pieces. Thereafter, then they have to quarry them out of the bedrock, and that's where the pounding balls come in.
Oh, I see. Okay.
However it is that they really are used. That's a real army one, isn't it? That's a real, is that an army issue?
This, yes. Oh, yeah.
See, in my day, we didn't have nasty goddamn things. We had a real organic aluminum.
Yeah, I have a World War, or I think it's a Cold War one, but
Yeah.
it's only got the hooks for the belt.
So I can't, like, this is the
Alright.
Gulf War pretty much era,
Ah,
and it's got these that you pull out,
all
and
right.
then they clip in.
The one I have actually is I think is a Czech Army
Oh, is it?
one. Yeah, it's
Yeah,
a-
'cause I
it's-
saw
you
it.
see it, and it's bigger. It's a liter, which is really bigger than you want. The quart size is much better.
Yeah, this is, I've had this forever, because as a young kid I used to collect all that stuff. And
Forever isn't a young kid for you. That's just around the corner.
pretty much, yeah.
Okay? Come on. If you have anybody wants to give some to the cop too. He's being a nice guy too.
Does Robert have a theory as to how they
No, we were
undercut?
just discussing.
Yeah, missed some.
We were just discussing, and that he doubts. He thinks that the
Dr. Tamam.
very well, Doctor Tamam.
Thank you.
Shukran.
Shukran.
He's just throwing into question that the bouncing ball answers all of the questions. It might answer part of the question and not all of it, like the undercutting. So, you know, in other words, jury's still out. What's certain is that the usual explanation is considerably wrong because it simply doesn't address the problems. And actually, this is one of the parts I'm just thinking myself of when I get around, which should be, I hope, soon, to rewriting, to updating the guidebook, to maybe have the old stuff and actually leave it in there, or at least significant parts of it, and then the newer developments as a contrast to how the thinking
John,
evolves.
but the traditional Egyptology, they feel they have to explain everything.
Pretty much.
But traditional
Pretty
science
much.
as well. Even if
Traditional
the
science as
explanation
well.
is ridiculous,
They have to
they
come
need to
up
have
with
an
something.
explanation. Yeah.
Yeah, well, they're not.
Or they would call it
It's
singularity.
it's a psychological problem, not a scientific problem. It's what they do is for the most part unglamorous. There's not a lot of money in it, and they get their sense of self, which is, since they've never developed souls of their own, which is a different matter altogether and very time-consuming and often unrewarding, since they've never developed souls of their own. In order to feel good about themselves, their feeling about themselves, in other words, their self-esteem is bound up in their role as experts. And if you're an expert, I mean, it takes a real expert to acknowledge that he just doesn't fucking know, or that he was wrong. Those two things. You almost never hear a scientist say that I was wrong. Well, we have to reconsider this. It's the best we can do. But generally speaking, yes. So, in answer to the question, can they admit that they don't know? Rarely. They have to offer some kind of explanation, even if it's a totally inadequate one, rather than say, I'm sorry, I don't know. You check it out, you'll see that they never say this.
Well, and that's the irony of it,
Rarely.
though, is the ones that say they're wrong, you feel like you can trust,
That's right.
but then they're wrong.
Good point.
Well, at least they're honest, you
But
know
yeah,
that.
but they're
That's
you can
already
trust them
something.
to be right, maybe.
Well, you can trust them not to lie about what they don't know.
You know?
So on the unicorn end of the scale
Yeah.
here, is there anything about using sound? Like you were talking about the army in step, not in step.
But-
Is there anything about using sound to pop these things out?
Not to pop these things out, but there's lots of unicorn talk about using sound for raising things and
right.
for doing things. And maybe, I mean, we have in our video, in Mystery of the Sphinx, we have a guy, what's his name? I forget his name. I think it was in a second. Who works with space-age equipment, a big fancy machine that can levitate like a pea-sized rock with sound.
Oh.
Well, this is a big machine and a small rock.
Right.
When you're dealing with 100-ton blocks, the same technology doesn't, I mean, because
Right.
you can do that doesn't mean you can do it much bigger.
Right, but in terms of like maybe shattering something along
Well, maybe,
a line.
maybe, but
yeah.
but until, again, there are all kinds of hypotheses about this. But for it to become a theory, it has to be developed to the extent that at least you can have a model
Right.
of some sort that is in theory workable. So otherwise, it's just, otherwise it's just unicorn air.
Well, yeah, I just didn't know if you'd heard anything.
No, it's out there, but it's not. And when you see cymatics, when you see
Right.
all of these things forming from frequencies alone. أيوة.
سلامة.
ما سلامة.
نشوفك ثاني إن شاء الله.
ثاني. أكتوبر.
إن شاء الله.
إن شاء الله.